DRX to play a different style because they've loved playing this one, this style of dive drafting, pick-based compositions. Don't let them do it to you again.
Yeah, and I wonder whether, like, what the choice is as far as removing a ban, right? Because once again, they're going to be on the blue side. Last time they banned LeBlanc, Akali, and Jinx. I don't think the LeBlanc ban necessarily needs to be there. It's actually felt like a bit of a trap for a lot of teams. A lot of these defaulting to Lee Sin LeBlanc compositions that haven't really got off the ground. So I wouldn't mind if that just left and they banned something else. It will just be the Jace once again here for DRX on the red side. They banned Zeri and Twisted Fate as their last two, as Ryze slipped all the way through the bans.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
I like the Jace ban here for DRX because it gives them the opportunity to pick the Gwen fairly safely with the Akali ban. So you're like, oh, okay, you ban the Akali, I'll ban the Jace, and then we can pick Gwen into pretty much everything and feel pretty good about it, as they did last game. Jinx once again taken away from Deft.
Yep.
And we'll see if it's going to be the same bans here as the Zeri comes through. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I agree with you that I don't think the LeBlanc is really something that's necessary to ban here right now, but it does put BDD in it gives them the opportunity to lane into a champion that is not LeBlanc that might actually just pop off and kill him, because he has not been having the greatest performances as of late.
Yeah. And so that is going to be the last avenue for flexibility here for Nongshim. As even, like, I don't know, Viego are going to be banned, and I think this is really weird. I don't know whether that's necessarily the one that you need to be prioritizing, but they are going to take it away. That was a decent answer, especially in that mid lane, in the early phase, but I don't think that he's necessarily that powerful. Twisted Fate taken off the board, and Nongshim, let's see whether they do once again prioritize the horse, because the Viego ban certainly does say that they still want to canter into this game, and they certainly will.
Hecarim has been so strong in the LCK around dominating the bottom side of the map and diving AD carries that have low range and who just who lose out the 2v2 and have to sit under turret. And that's usually where we see teams who actually don't get the Hecarim have to draft into. But that wasn't really the case for DRX, right? Because they're just going to play Kai, so they're going to be cool with that. And the Hecarim didn't get value there, lost out in mid lane. So it's a strong pick, and I appreciate Nongshim picking it here. But let's see if they can change their draft to better suit it this time around.
Yeah, I actually kind of would like Ghost to pick the Kai'Sa. Like, pick it away. Like, we've seen Kai'Sa Hecarim be so valuable together. You may as well lock that one in, as Goshik having a bit of a giggle here while he hovers the Kindred forever. But Lee Sin will be where he goes to afterwards. We've seen this matchup many, many times. Often the Hecarim does manage to find advantages, but Lee Sin will always be able to do Lee Sin things as the game goes on.
Pretty low win rate as of late. I think it was like 4 and 6 last week, but maybe even worse than that. It's not looking good for Lee Sin at the moment, but still into the Hecarim with a Kali ban and Poppy, you know, not going to be a consideration here. You feel pretty okay with it.
Yeah.
As we're just going to see Tryndamere and Nautilus once again. I think DRX could very happily lock in the Gwen here. And unless they want to take the Kai'Sa once again, because we're looking like we might be going down a similar draft. But I think taking the Gwen is the smarter and safer option. Let's see if Nongshim decide, okay, let's take away the Kai'Sa. Let's not give Def that opportunity on the bottom side of the map. We don't know what their AD carry pick is going to be just yet either. But I'd like to see some sort of pivot here as Nongshim, because if we're running the same game, it's not going to go well for you. As at least the Azir is off the table. That part has changed.
It was Zilean and Vex the DRX banded away last time. So one of those options should be there for Nongshim. If they want to. I think banning Zilean makes a lot of sense here, just because, just in general, in Hecarim compositions, he's so powerful.
He's also super powerful if you're not behind when your opponent's playing a pick comp. But
weird.
They take away the Aphelios. Not going to allow Ghost to play late game hyper carry here this time around. At least not the Aphelios or the Jinx, the two common ones here in the LCK. And maybe we'll actually see the Jhin for Ghost this time around.
Might be the case. I don't think he'll pick Jhin into the Kai'Sa.
We'll ban the Kai'Sa here, though, right? 100% right? Right? Didn't do it last time. Didn't go very well. Deft picks up POG, and they do it this time. All right. We're learning. We're evolving. We're changing.
Slowly but surely. It took DRX banning away the Aphelios for that one to actually come out, but still, you'd be kind of happy with it. Let's see what Deft does go with here. They could lock away a support if they want to hide the AD carry choice, but Nautilus is already face up. They may as well just take something into it, see what it is actually going to be. I know Nautilus into Thresh is something that's really good for Nautilus, but Thresh and Ahri together make for really... Okay! Renata is going to come out. So, Beryl going to be pretty squishy here, but we'll have a lot of really cool buttons available And that Berserk mechanic might work out.
Now
this close range comp so far.
Ghost is hovering the Callista immediately because he is very, very happy to try to control this lane. Nautilus Callista early on against a squishy support. Hovers, it does swap over to the Jhin, which I think is so powerful with the Hecarim, Tryndamere, and Nautilus frontline engage. And this is what I was calling for earlier. But we'll be going for not lane dominance here, as he was hovering earlier. I think the Jhin is a safer pick. The Callista gives you a lot of power, though, around the early game.
Yeah, I think Jhin works well into Renata as well, just because you get to stand back and you're not in the fray.
You'll never be.
Does manage to get one of those cool ults off.
You'll never be berserked in almost any scenario here. The Veigar will be the scaling mid lane that BDD is looking for this time around. And very strong into the Ahri, into the Gwen, into Lee Sin, right? Because of his E. You know, you put up that Event Horizon, it really messes with DRX's ability to team fight properly. And I think that Def needs a long-range AD carry as a result.
Do it, Def. Don't be scared.
Oh,
all right, we're going Vayne Renata. Okay, that's a lane. That's a lane that you could do. As Def's having a bit of a giggle about it as well. This is not necessarily a Deft special, but certainly is a whole lot of fun and does fit in with their single target sort of pick-off style composition that they do have available to themselves.
A lot of pressure in this game, I think, on Effort and BDD, because Effort will be able to peel to a certain extent against these, you know, low-range champions. Ahri's engages, Lee Sin, Gwen running in, and he played a decent game last time, right? He ended up getting the Zhonya's, as you mentioned, and it got so much value. I think he'll probably do that this time around as well. And Veigar also will have a lot of opportunities to peel and be a utility champion who later on becomes insanely strong. But throughout some of these mid-game fights where Vayne is looking to pop off and soar to that late game where she also scales up very well, the Veigar Event Horizon actually gets a ton of value into the Ahri, into the Lee Sin. So on paper, I actually do like Nongshim Red Forest draft a lot more. And Ghost has such a great, strong front line, too, to set up for his big ultimates, long-range picks. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's the right amount of adaptation. I got a little bit worried when they just picked the same first 3 picks, but I think that the second round of the draft really did work out, as DRX have gone for something that looks a little bit more fun, I guess, as, yeah, the Vayne Renata is going to come through here, and saying it fast actually sounds really cool, sounds a bit like a cocktail. So if I was to go to a bar and order a Vayne Renata, I feel like I'd get something a bit fruity. I like it. I like it a lot.
Can I get a glass of...
A glass of Vayne Renata, baby. That sounds delicious. I will take 2. Thank you very much.
Send them up here, G-Sun, on a tray and put them right in between me and Atlas. We'll have a sip.
Yeah, we will. And we'll try and cheers, but there's a big plexiglass thingy in between us, as per usual.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk about Renata's kit, because she's new and we're going to do the thing, but her Q is somewhat similar to Thresh's hook, but you can move the champion that's connected with it in a certain direction. You have the opportunity to kind of pull them or push them away. And then, of course, her W is the most interesting part because she does buff the AD carry in most cases. And then if the AD carry dies while that buff is up, they have a few seconds to get a takedown, and then they will actually, in fact, not die and will come back to life basically with this portion of their health. So that's why a lot of people were like, okay, this champion is busted. It wasn't about her ult that berserks a bunch of people, makes them start shooting at their teammates. That's really hard to pull off because it's a very slow-moving ultimate, really easy to avoid. I don't know, it feels like... It's kind of like a Maokai ult, but like even worse, like generally speaking. It's very hard to pull it off, but if your opponent is all running at you and, you know, with the Tryndamere or Hecarim, like maybe you can get value out of it here as a barrel this game, but keeping Deft alive and actually allowing Deft to res basically through the W is going to be the, I don't know what that's called, the ability is called, it's a new champion, I'll learn it eventually, but that's, I think, the main reason she's picked here is that Deft has 2 lives, basically.
Yep. And the handshakes, I think, are going to be really, really fun to watch, as the hook is going to go wide, and, you know, Beryl's just doing some stuff, auto-attacking for the moment, as Tumble is going to be pretty valuable here in this lane. As, yeah, her E is weird, though. It's called Loyalty Program.
Loyalty Program, okay.
Like, I don't know. Famously, once upon a time, Jat said, only say ability names if they make sense for what's happening on the screen. Unstoppable Force, for example, is an ability name that you should say. Loyalty Program, if I was to say that in a team fight, what would you guys expect? They're sitting down and like doing contract negotiations? Like, what? No, it's not exactly a play-by-play's favorite name.
Yeah.
As Beryl has taken Handshake first.
Yep.
Like Handshake. Handshake's great because you get to use that, as we're teaching the Korean casters about that particular ability now, as I believe that's what they were offering.
Yes, and then the loyalty program. The W is called emergency something in Korean. I didn't actually see what the second word was, but
That's called Bailout.
Bailout. Okay.
So it is
emergency save, I guess, was the idea there for the Korean. Yeah, it's definitely a bailout move, and it also gives your AD carry kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card if you're going to be able to get that takedown, because you can't just use it and then get the res. You will actually have to secure a kill.
Yep, and Renata, like, based on the lore, right, she's like a Chemtech Baron, so I like the name Loyalty Program is cool in that sense, and so I guess the contract negotiations thing is sort of at least lore relevant.
Once they sign, she can bail the Vayne out.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm getting myself into is.
And I mean, if we're talking about going to prison, Vayne spotting gets you there. But also, Gwen dashing forward could also be a bit of a problem here, as Dread's going to get a bit of a pushback. The Ghost is already used, as Kingan's now just doing his best to buy as much time as possible. It will be the horse that grabs it, rampaging through the top lane, and Dread a much better start this time around.
Yeah, this time actually finding an early pick onto the Gwen, not going to be traded. It's not that late, dive we saw several times attempted on the King, and this time it's early. Gets the Tryndamere ahead, and now Hecarim getting a lot more power around this early game. Into a composition for DRX that does have some identity issues, right? It's somewhat pick-based with the Lisa and the Ahri, but it's also got low-range Vayne, who's going to be trying to be a hyper carry later on with the Renata support to keep her alive and to empower her. So does get a little bit weird here as Nongshim's feeling very comfortable with this early kill.
I would say they definitely are. 100% agree. I think Vayne is also a bit of a problem into the Figo. Like, man, Baby Cage is just going to have so much power.
It's so crazy. Like, BDD and Effort have so much control over how these fights go later on. As long as nobody gets charmed by Zeka, in an awkward spot, like, I think that Nongshim can front to back so cleanly. As this is just, he's like, oh, you are going to go forward, then I guess I'll go ahead and take my opportunity. He's channeled the back before that, and then sees his opportunity, comes over here. And even with the 4-stacked Q, Kingan's not able to trade back. Really nice split up here of Kana and Dread. He's just like, okay, I'll let you have the kill, I'll take the minions.
Yep. Kingan's still ahead. No teleport required to get back to lane in time to continue to have a bit of control there, as I really hope that wasn't a negative one, but wasn't paying quite enough attention there, as Pyoshik's going to start off this first Drake. Still 2.5 minutes or something away from the Rift Herald, as Zeka's hit level 6 now. Dread's coming over as once again Kingan's getting a lot of attention, but no, it's just because there's camps up, and that's the last one left available.
DRX will take the first Drake here with the rotation up of the horse to the top side of the map.
Yep, getting the 2 good Drakes out of the way so that it can pave the way for the Cloud Soul that is 100% coming in.
Well, you said it, so now I trust. Well, the clear of the ward here is good for Nongshim. BD was able to get enough prio to come help Dread clean that one up. Now Zeka here, not going to have as free of control this game as he did the last game. Remember last time he got an early kill onto BDD, and then the laning phase was free. This time around it's been very different. It's been a lot more slow-paced. And Nongshim will have an opportunity to take a fair Rift Herald fight here in a minute and a half. All things considered, right? Making sure nothing happens before then.
Yep, and Pyoshik's going to go for a back here. Hasn't hit level 6 just yet, as that's a really nice charm into Orbit Deception and Effort. Not a whole lot of options, but they're looking to just control this mid-wave, get that one shoved out, and then find themselves some river control. They will be able to do so, but no kick. This is so important. As you can see, both of these camps are coming up. Pyoshik needs to get one of them, at least. To be able to get that level 6.
They're playing so safely around the fact that they have no vision and those wards were cleared.
Oh dear. Yep, Q is going to connect onto Effort there. And now Kana pushing up this top lane. They will be able to get one of these plates here. Let's see whether this dive is actually going to be committed to. As Dread comes over, Pyoshik not able to get level 6 just yet, but is able to at least smite away the big rock.
Such a small move here for Nongshim, but it gives them so much power, as Deft will be able to grab a plate down here bottom side with this massive wave that's crashing, and they're going to zone Ghost out of experience.
Yeah.
So it's not all for free here for Nongshim. There's a bit of a cost here on the bottom side.
Yeah, that is the handshake that's going to connect, though, as now Ghost taking a lot of damage. Yeah, okay, good stun lands onto Deft. He's going to have to flash to get out of the way of that one, and now they're in a tricky situation. There are minions on this turret, so Beryl can just walk all the way straight back. There's now Deft looking to try and move into this one, but there's a horse, and that is a big problem. The Vayne is going to go down.
And they had such an advantage on the bottom side. They pushed Ghost back. They were zoning him out of experience a little bit, but I think at some point you have to feel like, okay, we've pushed him away, but we've been doing this for a long time, and the action has stopped on the top side of the map. So how much time do we realistically have to actually continue to push for this? As the rotation over from Effort and Dread is as fast as you could possibly hope for. And the idea here for DRX is if we just keep pulling those resources bottom, we will secure this Rift Herald fight because everyone's going to be bottom side. And that is true, but because you end up losing control of your AD carry and he's dead, now you're giving over a plate for free to Ghost, and so it's not all, you know, it's not all great here on the top side of the map either. Because, okay, you survived as the Gwen, you got the Rift Herald, you denied some CS from the Jhin, but now he's kind of shored up that disadvantage. As once again, Deft.
Yeah, spots out Ghost. You can see Effort, Hex flashing around the side, but Deft is able to give enough respect, and with no flash, no heal, certainly need to.
Yeah, so going back to this, you know, you had the wave pushed away, but you decided you were going to go all in on this handshake, the ignite, and then Effort's here.
Yeah,
okay,
it was a really good flash from Ghost as well, otherwise I think he's condemned and dead.
Yeah, that was a good flash, like you say, and Effort just goes for the chase here, flashes forward, and then Dread shows up. You're too far forward here, get punished, and then, you know, you get the Rift Herald on the top side of the map, but then it's the follow-up play we'll take a look at in the moment, but things are really Nongshim favored right now across the map. It's like the exact opposite of the previous game.
It is. The early game certainly working out, and the team with the Hecarim wants to have that happen, right? That is exactly what you want. Is the Charm going to land there on the B2D. Q is going to connect, but yeah, this is the power of the Event Horizon. It's pretty good. It's pretty good ability, by the way, everyone.
Yep.
You put it down, 3 people can't do anything.
It's pretty amazing. As they are going to go ahead and drop this Rift Herald down here as well. Nongshim trying to deny this, not able to do so.
They will be able to get Pyoshik some money, but this time Zeka doesn't get the plate gold as the charge came in. So certainly good news for Nongshim as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, and Aleeson picking up plate gold here when he's already 2 kills behind the Hecarim, who actually also has a small CS lead here, is, you know, feels like you're really just kind of trying to catch up. You're not really gaining anything, unfortunately, not giving you a lot of power here.
Yeah, Dread able to do some helicoptering, I guess, but otherwise not too much is going to happen. Beryl shakes his hand and they, or I guess his hoof, and gets out. Wonder what kind of contract is. What's the loyalty program looking like now?
Well, I'm like looking. I'm like, does he have hands? Like I always thought he had hoofs, but like I'm like, how
guess
can he
he's more
hold
like
that?
he's like a centaur, isn't he? So
Yeah.
he does have hands. I take it all back.
Because I always in my head I was thinking like, yeah, it's hoofs too. Like as soon as you said like, hoofs, I almost like said the same thing as you. Then I'm like, well, how could he hold the mace or whatever he's holding?
The pole arm.
Yeah, the pole arm. If he's got hooves for hands, it's like the strong bad like Typhon with boxing gloves on.
Oh dear.
Well, you know, handshake, I guess living up to its name in this particular case.
Yeah, I think you can shake hands with almost everyone here. Outside, maybe Effort has to, like, take his gloves off, but he should be able to do that. There's a bit of a fight here towards the top side as Kana doesn't have to press his ult until relatively late here as Kingen trying to run away. He is going to be able to do so as, the heal from the Q going to be enough to keep Kana alive. And Nongshim now looking to grab a Drake of their own. An opportunity for 3 clouds for both of these teams. Certainly very, very fun if your name is Atlas. Less fun if you're everybody else.
I think we're really starting to see some of the issues with DRX's composition as Kingen has no idea that Kana is in that rush and just queued.
Yeah. This is danger.
But also Pyoshik is nearby, so he is like prepared for the outcome of the Tryndamere running at him. Will actually deny this whole wave, though. Well,
yeah.
Could have.
He's able to walk it back, so decides not to get baited. And we actually saw the result of similar baits like this, if you remember, Doran. The side steps that we saw in the T1 versus Gen G series. Very, very cool stuff from Zeus.
But going back to the comp here for DRX, we are starting to see, as it is the Cloud Soul that you promised us.
Yeah, no surprises there at all.
Going back to the comps, like, we're starting to see that DRX's comp doesn't have power in the early game unless they get ahead, but against the Hecarim, it's tough to make that happen. Kingen dying early really hurt. Then an overextension on the bottom side slows down Def's ability to actually get up to, you know, hyper carry status here on this Vayne later on. And so Nongshim have a lot of utility in this comp, have a nice lead that's pretty cushy. They can sit on here. They don't need to take fights. They don't need to force anything. They're not even, with the lead they have, putting deep vision up because they don't need to. They just need to be able to play defensively around, once again, which is half a pick comp and half a front-to-back comp here for DRX. And it doesn't get easier from here until we get to like 30 minutes in this game where a pick is massive and, you know, Gwen is starting to be able to side lane and will be able to be very powerful in front-to-back team fights. But no, I like how Nongshim are just kind of soaking up the aggro, punishing a little bit, and not trying to push the envelope too far elsewise. Because there's so many ways that if DRX get ahead, this comp plays itself. But from even or behind, it's so hard for DRX.
Yeah, it's like the classic Vayne comp issue, right? Where, yes, if you manage to get to a position where you are able to snowball, then the Vayne is going to work out. But there's a reason why Vayne spotting exists, right? You certainly can, if you fall into a hole, just not really find too much. Right now, though, Deft is ahead in farm by quite a decent margin, as we're doing some more contracts here in the jungle. Dread, with his hands or his hooves, just denies actually signing anything, so he's not going to worry about it too much there at all. Pioshik off to the side, misses that Q. Still has safeguard available, is now Deft and Ghost fighting this one out. It's a lot of burst damage, but it is traded back immediately. The final hour is on, and that was so close. Flashes come through. The flash from Deft will pick it up in the end. I love the jostling for position between the two AD carries. Yeah, exactly right, as we've got immediately another fight. The headbutt into the wall there from Dread. He didn't want to do that. Beryl just said that he had to, as now underneath the turret, Pioshik looks for more, as now Dread 1 versus 3, but you cannot do anything there, and DRX find the outplay in the bottom lane.
It's a 1v1 outplay, but it wasn't really Deft in any real danger because the rest of his team was rotating down. Pioshik's nearby, Beryl's nearby, they have the tri-brush controlled, so there's no punish opportunities. Ghost realized a little bit too late, Deft can actually come here, flash on me, and I'm dead. As in 1v1s like this, if the Vayne gets close enough to the Jhin, she will win that fight every time. So well played here by DRX, knowing how they can win this exchange. Meanwhile,
yeah, a bit of a fight here towards the top side, but it's just Kingen trying to get the Tryndamere away from his turret, and we'll be able to do so quite comfortably.
And it was played very well from Pioshik too. Gets that second kill and then is able to get away under turret. DRX, these are the moments where you take a 900 gold deficit, turn it into a 400 gold lead, and this is why Nongshim was playing so passively, as I was talking about before, is Deft.
Yeah, like fighting into a fourth bullet there as well.
And he went forward with the Gale Force, and guess what? He's just like, I'll flash on you, dude. Realizing way too late. As the ultimate is used here, actually from
I barely even noticed.
Yeah, you can see it's just not the greatest ult in pro play. But he used it here to try to zone Dread out. Dread still gets in, it doesn't matter at the end. It's well played from Pioshik.
Yep.
Now
DRX handshake is the ultimate. That's the one that works super well. Not necessarily the actual ult itself, but that's fine. Haven't even really seen the bailout, right? Like I really would have liked it to be more of that 2v2, so we could see the power of, you know, Vayne getting that W steroid and stuff like that, which is, you know, why this lane, I guess, is being picked up. The idea, in theory, kind of works out pretty cool.
It will be, you know, impactful in later team fights, you know, around objectives, front to backs, and stuff like that. When Vayne is extremely fed, and if she gets a reset and gets alive, it's like, well, that's it. We tried to kill the AD carry, but she just pops back to life, and then you end up losing those. But it's so interesting how this game is now so close. Like, Nongshim are happy to play even or ahead. They're only a few hundred gold behind now, so it's not a game-changing moment for them. Like, they still have a lot of control over the game. Kana's going to get a turret up here on the top side for free. They have full vision control for the top side. But DRX getting a kill on a Vayne here starts to mean, okay, well, the place where DRX actually are relevant in this game has now been moved up a few minutes.
Yeah, and I actually, like, I think Nongshim are probably pretty happy with how this one's going. They're even on Drakes, so not having to give away too many in the early stages. Plus, Tryndamere is winning in the side lanes, right? Was able to grab that top out of turret first. And that is absolutely fantastic news here, because I think Canna is going to be very, very important to Nongshim's plan moving forward. Because when you have a Jhin, right, you're not as pressured in the 4 of a 4-1, right? Because you can stand back relatively far. You've got your curtain call if anything goes really, really wrong. to tidy up waves and things like this. And
Deft alone.
deter DRX's, yep, effort is going to move forward. Final Hour and Tumble both available here for Deft, so he's not actually going to die, but still pushed away from the turret. And Dread going to come on over to grab a first Cloud Drake of the game.
Yeah, they will take control of the bottom side of the Vision here with effort down here against Deft alone. There you have that prio. The Vision on the top side not leading to anything here except keeping Kingen a little bit safer. Second Rift Herald, it looks like, will go over to DRX for the much less valuable objective than controlling the bottom turret against a low-range Vayne, and then also the Drake that comes with it, pushing closer towards that Soul Point. So Nongshim, you know, a 600 gold lead now that they have, like, it's swinging, you know, about 1,000 between the two of them. Again, feels masterful, though. It feels like, oh, okay, yes, this is exactly where we want to be. Like, you could be further ahead if DRX made mistakes, but you're feeling really fine about where you are right now in this game. And as long as you don't try to do anything flashy or crazy to try to get a 2,000 gold lead and then mess it up, I think you're kind of coasting, you're riding very safely with this composition. And, you know, as long as you continue to win fights around objectives and then don't try to make any crazy picks or dives happen before then, you're on the right path.
No, absolutely. I think one thing that they do have to be wary of is DRX being able to do Baron extremely quickly. There is a Vayne with the Kraken Slayer, right? Like, she just generally does these neutral objectives very fast. And DRX now have control of the mid lane as well. This is certainly high value, as now they're looking for even more out of Shirley. She is going to go for the charge and actually gets the second one. Zeka taking a fair bit of damage here from Ghost, but is going to be able to back away. And Deft moving back towards this top side of the map. Theoretically, the Vayne, decent as far as a split pusher, was often thought of as a pick into Tryndamere, just because Condemn can stop him from getting on top of you. I don't know whether that's quite as much the case now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just a nice plus that she has in this game, that keeping the Tryndamere just an arm's length and extra time with the handshake and everything else, the charms. Like, there's a lot of ways to peel for her, and she can just pop back to life if he dies after his ult. If he uses his ult to kill her, but then she gets bailed out.
Yeah, that's the name of the... I get it.
Yeah. During all of this, where the Rift Herald charge happened mid, Nongshim were not going to risk giving DRX extra gold and fighting, and in fact just had BDD side laning and picking up some more AP stacks, where he is now on the top side doing the same thing. So on two sides of the map, his Veigar is becoming more and more powerful, whereas Ahri, yes, you know, she still has a lot of threat and some pick potential this whole game, but isn't going to be doing the massive amounts of damage BDD will be in 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, Nongshim clearing out some vision around this Baron that has just spawned. 7 seconds to go. Ghost tidying up this wave in the mid lane. And you can see Deft looking for a place to farm. He's still ahead by quite a margin. Looking for his Rage Blade as item number 2. Yeah, a lot of ramping, a lot of stacking, able to utilize the attack speed from the bailout, things like this. Looking forward to seeing whether this Vayne is going to be able to do things in the later stages, right? Because you're short range and you're into a Veigar, who is very good at controlling short range champions.
Yeah, because even if he has a bailout on top of him, if he can't actually continue to chase forward because an Event Horizon blocks him from actually doing so and getting on top of a Jhin, when he also has a Hecarim running at him and a Tryndamere running at him, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I think there are ways, though, obviously with some of the disengage opportunities that DRX will have to keep him alive, to get some big kills and fights. But I think it's much harder. The ease of execution for DRX is not there, right? Whereas for Nongshim, with the position they have, it's pretty nice. So Zeka.
Yeah, he's going to have to use his Spirit Rush to try and get out of here, but Dread runs real quick. There's one more charge left available. The flash is going to be there as well, as there's the kickback. Zeka not even going to use his flash because the Primordial Burst got in range. I think he probably could have flashed, though, instead of relying on that, but... you can see a bit of disappointment in the face of the mid laner.
Yeah, it was a bigger collapse than I think he realized there. And yes, he is able to get BDD's flash out from this, but he's taken off the map. No side laning for you. And an Ahri getting caught in the side lane is something we very rarely see, actually, in the LCK, because she's so mobile. Her Spirit Rush allows her to get out, but probably wanted to flash there, because she did not escape this time. And, you know, the side laning that BDD has done is more valuable because he's stacking up his AP. He's becoming more relevant, whereas Zeka is just trying to get gold. Went for the Void Staff this time around second instead of going for the Horizon Focus because he didn't have a massive lead. And obviously, you know, getting in and trying to pick people off is going to be so hard into a composition that has so much great peel in the Event Horizon, the Nautilus, etc. It's not looking good here for DRX. Again, it's only a 100 gold deficit, and Deft could have the team fight of his life, but on paper.
Yeah, we got a possible pick opportunity here as the Q's going to land. Pioshik was thinking about it, but they decide not to go in, of course. 4 members clumped up all together. Tryndamere rotating his way up as well. This is great news. Deft going to get sped up, moving towards that Baron pit as Kingen looking to try and hold on to this wave as best he can. Nongshim now going to have to do some face checking as Zeka has found the Jhin. And that is going to secure it. It's in fact Pioshik that locks down that kill. And if you're walking into darkness, don't face check with your AD carry.
Yeah, that was not the play. That was definitely not the play. Now DRX have such fast Baron clears, you mentioned, and they can zone away the rest of Nongshim. So much damage here, and the real big range advantage is in the Jhin only. So Nongshim, yeah, they will be able to force this turret down, it looks like here, but DRX do not care, like, at all. I'll take...
Yep, out of turret for Baron.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the trade you want to go for, but Nongshim, 4 versus 5, we're just never going to be able to get in there, right?
Yeah, they can get the Scuttle, but they will not be able to get the Drake either, as Ghost is respawning now and has a long walk ahead of him.
Yeah, we're looking for a possible pick-off opportunity here. Words are difficult. As DRX looking to grab their first cloud of the game. I love this. Keeping them evenly divided. Give us as many clouds as possible. It's just going to make me the happiest boy ever. But now, they grab the Drake, they grab the Baron, and their control of this river was just beautifully done. Zeka, once again, I mean, his Ahri's
great.
Yeah,
there's a ward there, and that's the choke you want to have control. There's not only a ward there, but a control ward in the subsequent bush. And like you said, do not be checking this as the AD carry, you know, who does not have a sweeper or anything either. Like, this was just a desperation move from Nongshim. And it goes back to the fact that DRX can clear Baron so quickly. If you don't have vision like this, you feel like, okay, well, we've got to get in there. Like, we cannot waste any time, and still want to be a little bit more careful than that. They did have a 1 ward in the brush there, at the entrance to the river, so had a little bit more vision, but just had no idea where Zeka was standing. And you can't be making mistakes like this into a comp that will punish super fast.
Yeah, Kana taking a lot of damage here as Zeka waiting over to the side very patiently. Doesn't find the charm, was blind into that brush. So Kana will survive for the moment, but DRX rotating into the enemy jungle. And this is going to buy as much space as they would like to grab this outer turret on the bottom side of the map with their Baron that Kingen has surrounding him. They're losing an entire wave on the top side to that inner turret, but that isn't going to get pushed down for now, I do not believe. Still a bit of a sacrifice, though, as Kingen comes on over, trying to keep his siege minion up if he can.
Yeah, it's
stealing away the jungle.
The 3-2 here because Deft needs a bit of a bodyguard. They don't have another champion they feel comfortable side laning with on the top side here. And with Nongshim having the ability to lock down these, you know, low-range champions on the bottom side, you need somebody else with Kingen, or else he will just simply get locked in by a Veigar and blown up.
Event Horizon able to be avoided there with the mist, so that's certainly a tool that DRX have. So Kingen not exactly going to be a priority target for that one.
Yeah.
But still, as long as that's on cooldown, right, then DRX can fight. But BDD is going to be so important for Nongshim if they want to try and get back into this game. And I find it so weird saying that they have to get back into the game, right? Because they were in so much control in the early stages. But now it's about a 3,000 gold lead. The Baron play that transitioned so beautifully into a dragon. Like, Ghost's face check, it just feels like it was such a huge moment in this game.
It really was, because if you don't have that face check there, then Nongshim play it slower. You know, say effort checks instead. They try to collapse onto effort. You know, he stopwatches, you turn, right? There's so many different ways you could do this. But I think they just panicked when they saw the lack of vision. And that's something we could say a lot for Nongshim this season, is just a lot of coordination goes out the window in high-pressure situations. And the momentum-based team, filled with momentum-based players like Ghost, like BDD, like Effort, and even Kana, right on the top side, is, you know, this is the worst type of team to have 4-10 in a season, to just put it quite plainly. And, you know, that one mistake gave DRX the Baron gold, gave them turrets off the map. Now they're 3,000 gold ahead, like you mentioned. And Nongshim just don't have any vision control anymore, either into an Ahri. So, like, this problem is very similar to what happened the last game. It took a lot longer to get to the same result, but we are at the same result at the end of the day here.
Yeah, and DRX now with so much control over all of this darkness. And we already mentioned that this team the team plays well around Vision Control and Fog of War, but also the composition they put together almost requires it for it to work.
Yeah.
And you can see here, now sieging down on this inner turret, the rest of Nongshim are going to grab themselves together.
Kana is getting some extra value on the bottom side of the map, and this keeps happening where DRX are grouped up as 4 or 5, and they've left Kana to his own devices, which is part of why that wave was crashing so hard on the top side and was left alone, and why Kana is going to get a free teleport here. Now, will he get out with his life is the question. I said it was a free teleport, however...
Yeah, it is going to be very, very difficult. There's the spin as Pyosik is going to find him. There's the kickback as does manage to bonk him into the wall. That is attempting to go for it here as he goes berserk for a moment, and Beryl is going to be able to lock down the kill in the end. Use of the ulti working out there for DRX, but Nongshim now back onto the map. You can see all of that vision that they had going to be largely removed, as Kana still dead for another 35 seconds. He is going to be back up by the time the Baron gets there.
No summoners, though, will not have the ability to teleport in if DRX are on the Baron as it spawns. They're backing right now, so it is going to be a bit of a neutral fight there. This is so well handled by DRX. Like, Kana realizes as soon as he sees the teleport, like, oh no. Like, they're coming for me. They're all in mid. They can collapse onto me. Now, he's hoping he could trade it back, but, you know, fortunately blowing is Ignite there and was well... CC'd, you know, committing the Renata ult there, not a big deal. Not going to be too impactful on this upcoming fight because it's just so hard to get value out of that ultimate in general. So just use that when you get the guaranteed proc of Berserk and take out that enemy Tryndamere.
Yep, and able to handshake him into the wall as well. So just comfortably tidying this one up, not having to give up anything as Soul Point will now go over to DRX. And Baron up in now 13 seconds. Kingen going to spot Dread here, who's not going to be able to 1v1 the Gwen, especially not now. Cosmic Drive online. Looks like maybe it's a Demonic Embrace or something like that coming in next, unless he wants to go for a Rylai's or something. Kingen certainly is, you know, 4 items. Doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Embrace.
Feeling very good.
Yeah, he is basically in a position to do so much damage in subsequent team fights if he gets on top of carries.
As another pick-off. The ult's back up now for Kana, though, so he should be all right as Nongshim get control of the mid-wave.
Baron's up, and, you know, once again, might just trade a turret for Baron because they can clear this so fast. And Nongshim have to be decisive at moments like this. They need to leave someone on that turret and then rush over faster than this, or just ignore the Baron. Like, you got to be decisive. You're doing half measures here.
Yeah, do one of the things. Is now Zeka still off towards the side here as now Dread, he's running really, really quickly. Wants to go for that 50-50 if he can, but the ulti's going to come through. It zones them away beautifully as now... Yep, the bailout going to be used, but it's onto himself here as the Baron is just going to be given up on. Both of the supports are now taken down, and the Event Horizon is on cooldown. DRX move back towards this Baron as Dread still has his ulti up, and the kickback onto BDD. Event Horizon goes through again, but immediately the flashes come on forward. Death flashes over the wall as well as now they're looking to tidy up the team fight. It's the Viger, he is dead, and Ghost is now running for the hills. Kingen is so scary. The Q comes in from Pyosik. That will be the ace, and DRX can do anything they want after a team fight like that.
Yeah, they certainly can. Pyosik having a great game on the Lee Sin, very quietly, you know, making it through these mid-game fights, setting up so many of the peels that are necessary for his teammates. And yes, Beryl did die. He used his bailout on himself, wasn't able to, of course, resurrect, but the turn was so good for DRX and their advantage was massive.
Once again, another one of these situations where it's effort just by himself, having to try and save a dying Nexus. It happens one more time, and Vayne will cut through this Nexus so quickly. 2-0 for DRX, who keep their second place dreams alive, even if they're still very narrow. They're still going to playoffs, though, everyone. And it's likely that they will have, you know, side selection in the first round as well.
Really tough POG vote for me because Pyosik had a fantastic game, but also, you know, we saw a really awesome 1v1 kill for Deft in the bottom lane. He drew a lot of pressure because he was playing the Vayne. Beryl also with some really nice CC around some of those skirmishes. It's a tough call for me.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I think Pyosik definitely had a pretty good game there on a champion that has been struggling to find success.
I went for it. I put the Pyosik vote down. was not the cleanest game from DRX, and it was also a little bit of a weird draft. It felt like a happy game.
Yeah, it did. I really liked that Renata's ultimate is great for zoning around Baron. That certainly was very good. It didn't feel like one of those games where she found a whole lot of value necessarily, but she has a lot of CC in her kit, right? And she is certainly a whole lot of fun to see. And currently, 100% win rate here in the LCK.
I want to talk about Nongshim for a minute because we've talked about the momentum-based players on this roster. We've talked about how they're down in the dumps. We've given the COVID excuse, and we've gone down the whole list, but this loss basically guarantees they're not going to playoffs. It's not 100%, but, I mean, the chances are very low, right? And
yeah,
they have had so many games over the last few weeks, like their series last week, which went the distance, right? But they weren't able to cross the finish line when they had massive gold advantages. And in this game,